Det är bara en indikation. Ja, och men att det är lite lust. Ja, men verkligen också att man också prata färdigt och sådär. Men också när det finns tid, när det inte finns tid då.
Here.
Okay, welcome back from lunch. I hope that you enjoy the food and not least that you had time for good discussions. We'll continue with our program. This is the members' proposal 4.3. The Conservative Group has proposed to set up a joint Nordic vaccination register for persons over 65 years. I give the floor to the first speaker. President, the Conservative Group proposes that the Nordic Council proposes to the Nordic Council of Ministers that they initiate a study to set up a joint Nordic vaccination register for persons over 65 and also a model for dividing costs. And this should also form the basis for new proposals for the countries in the Nordic Councils. I may mention that persons over 65 or older, the number of this age bracket has increased, and this means that one is also more vulnerable for COVID, pneumococci, etc. And the idea behind the vaccinations is to prevent the spread of microbiological resistance. And the idea is also that we in the Nordic region can also then exchange experience, data, and also maybe negotiate cost reductions and also procure vaccinations more favorably, and that we could also jointly benefit from such a joint register. Thank you. Next speaker is Eva Lind from the Centre Group. Thank you, Mr. President. And thank you for the members' proposal. We're always interested to improve the basis for healthcare for the elderly. We simply have quite a number of questions regarding this members' proposal. So we will, along the way, also need more information about why we limit it to this group, what are the prerequisites for it, and how are we also to move forward regarding the proposals for cost reductions. Should we do that jointly across the Nordics, or should we do it individually in each country? So depending on the answers, it will also give the responses from us, whether we support it or not. All right, Eva Biode, next speaker. President, the Center Group also supports this regarding a joint Nordic vaccination register for persons over 65. It will strengthen health in this region. I just discussed this with someone who was also responsible for innovation and research, and she said that sometimes when everyone join forces, then we make new discoveries, and it feels simple. I mean, it kind of goes without saying. The cooperation in health also provides a good basis for example, making vaccines available and for cooperating in the health care sector. But regarding this age bracket over 65, that constitutes 1% of the population, everyone will benefit if they can stay healthy as long as possible. This group is particularly vulnerable for infections, and of course this will also impact on the quality of life and also about the quality of life. And by joint cooperation, we can also improve the efficiency of information and data, and also make sure that everyone can benefit from vaccination offers. For example, in the event of future health risks and also another pandemic, it will also give benefits when it comes to how we work on vaccinations, and also maybe result in reduced costs. Each country can also take a positive responsibility to ensure funding and also to find solutions and adapt them to their national needs. Therefore, we are positive so far to this initiative from the Conservative Group. All right, next speaker. We have no further speakers on our list. We therefore close the debate, and we will then refer back to the committee for further processes. All right, next item 4.4, the members' proposal regarding Nordic cooperation to ensure digital security of supply. And it is Veronica Honkasalo who will present this members' proposal, representing Nordic Green Left. You have the floor. President, the Finlandic National Insurance Scheme, who is responsible for social security, is planning to move the processing from their own data centers to international cloud-based services in Finland. At the same time, the Finnish Ministry of Justice also withdrew the decisions to use a US-based cloud service. And therefore, all data regarding candidates and further details would otherwise have been stored on the Amazon's services. that would also make us more dependent on the U.S. Suppliers, which would also represent a security issue, depending on foreign cloud-based services that are controlled outside of Europe poses a risk. In the current situation, that would also give more uncertainty regarding control, access, and continuity. So therefore, all the Nordic countries face the same strategic problem. How much critical data should we leave to the storage of international actors outside our region? Some countries have already reacted. France have said that you should limit software used, foreign use software in public services, and therefore it would also impact the critical infrastructure. And the same applies to Nordic, especially when it comes to processing and storing personal data, etc. We need a more Nordic approach instead of using data structures outside the Nordic control. We should then also create a joint structure here, and to ensure that we process sensitive data within our Nordic jurisdictions. Thank you. Tom Maynard Carlson, S Group, you have 2 minutes.
President, this membership proposal lifts a very important issue. For the Social Democratic Group, it is important that in a digital world we are able to secure the safety of our citizens' digital life, and that sensitive personal data is not exploited or diverted. In a demanding security situation, we need to make sure that we both take advantage of a global technological development, but at the same time taking care of the public security in the Nordics. And the services delivered are just as important as the data centers and the physical infrastructure. For instance, we see that AI may turn upside down much of the society and also the businesses. In the S Group, we thank you for a very good and interesting proposal. I need to make all sorts of reservations because we haven't been able to go through this in all detail, but we might need to expand this and put it into a larger context than what is being suggested here, but we need to balance this out to follow the international developments, whereas we work also in order to secure a Nordic digital sovereignty. But we look forward to a good and constructive processing of this question further on. Thank you very much. Oda Ingard from the Center Group now has the floor. President, the digital infrastructure is today controlled by a few global tech giants. They have good services, easy to work, and they have invested heavily in new technology, amongst others, AI. But they've also made us dependent, and they earn a lot of money on this. Most of these companies are American, and this is a worrying development. Tech leaders are close to the people in power, and we see that the borders are moving here. We see this, and it shows us very clearly that it's extremely important for us to make plans so that we in Norden can be independent. That goes for the defense sector, but also for the digital infrastructure. That's why we in the Center Group, we support this motion from Nordic Green Left, but it needs to be developed, as earlier speakers have mentioned. I think we go need to go beyond this. It's not enough to discuss where these data are stored, but also discuss who are developing all these services we use today. Email, social media, document processing, these are services that we depend on every day. And we are in the hands of a few global companies. And let's not be naive. Even if the data are stored in Europe, they are not off limit if these companies see that they need to have access in order to maintain their power. So we need digital services based on open source and with control of personal data. We need to do this together with Europe. This will take time. It will not happen overnight. But if we don't start now, the dependence will increase and also the vulnerability. It's about being independent. It's about democracy amongst all these matters. Thank you very much. And then the Nordic Youth Council.
Kiitos.
Thank you, President. The Nordic Green left would like to see that the Nordics and Europe become more self-sufficient in terms of digital infrastructure. And therefore, we want to strengthen the digital security of supply. This is in line with the Nordic Youth Council's resolutions adopted in Stockholm to strengthen the Nordic countries' digital security by limiting the use of non-Nordic infrastructure in the public sector and to cooperate more closely on the development of digital solutions and also to tax giants in the Nordics, as well as increasing the allocations for data supervisory authorities in step with the increasing digitalizations. And we have therefore presented a resolution regarding artificial intelligence, where we encourage to develop a Nordic language model that is also the basis for AI-based chat robots. This is also an investment in the Nordic digital security of supply, as well as in our competitiveness. Based on this, the Nordic Youth Council can support the proposal and will also support any measure that contributes to increasing the Nordic digital supplies self-sufficiency and competitiveness. Thank you for these contributions. I don't have any more names on my list of speakers, and therefore we can close this item, and we will then refer it back to the committee for further processing. This means that we have now addressed and dealt with all the proposals under item 4 on the agenda, and therefore, we now move to item 5 on the agenda, and we will also change the chair for the next session. I will be replaced by Helene Björklund.
Ja, hej igen allihop.
Well, hello everyone. We have enjoyed the lunch. We feel more invigorated and ready to make decisions. We have now come to item 5, namely the Presidium's matters. We have 3 matters to address. We will first discuss them, and then we will do vote afterwards. So we start by addressing item 5.1, considerations regarding members' proposal of an impact assessment of Nordic advantages, regional integration, and also to eliminate barriers to cross-border movement. And first I give the floor to the spokespersons representing the Centre Group. You have 2 minutes. Thank you. I'm here to present a very important issue regarding Nordic advantages, regional integrations, and barriers to cross-border movement. We have wanted to facilitate cross-border movement and also to reduce the barriers and the disadvantages that represents because such barriers impact Nordic integrations regardless of each other. Then sometimes the Nordic countries also make decisions that have a negative impact on the people. And therefore, the Presidium considers that it is important for all proposals to be discussed in the Nordic Council should be subject to an impact assessment so that you can also see to which extent they remove barriers to cross-border movement, and also to see how the Nordic countries can benefit from them. And therefore, each delegation should also consider these issues in each committee, and only through such a process can we achieve a region that is truly integrated without cross-border barriers. The idea is not to limit the opportunities and possibilities to present proposals, but we want to raise everyone's awareness of the challenges that we face when we act under the umbrella of Nordic cooperation. We want everyone to support this recommendation. Thank you. Thank you, Joni. Maybe I was not clear initially. You can also ask for a reply to these contributions. No one has done so, but maybe you didn't know that you could do that. We'll proceed with the list of speakers, and if you want to ask for a reply, you can do that. The next speaker is Bryndis Haraldsdottir, representing the Conservative Group. You have the floor. You also have 2 minutes. Bryndis is not here. All right, we'll move on. Høgni Høydal, representing the Nordic Green Left. You have 2 minutes.
Fru President.
Chair, Nordic Green Left, we were a bit skeptical to this proposal. We do understand the purpose here, as Joni just explained, especially the question that all people should be scanned. But what about the Nordic advantage here? This is a concept that was introduced in the middle of the 90s here in Nordic Council when after Finland and Sweden became a member of the EU, and this changed the situation. So we are a bit hesitant because we feel that there is an politicization of the work in Nordic Council. What is Nordic advantage? Should one judge that by money, by the politics? So I think that I can say that we can support this proposal, but it shouldn't be a way to stop proposals in the Nordic Council. So we are a bit hesitant, but we still think that this is a good proposal that we can support. Thank you. Youth Council of Nordic Council, we have someone who has asked for the floor. 2 minutes for you as well. Arvid Karel.
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Well, from the Youth Council, we see this as a very good proposal. Impact assessment before you take decisions could lead to reduce the risk that several other border barriers are created by such decisions or proposals. So it is a question of eliminating this risk, and we want more Nordic cooperation and less barriers. So I think it is interesting that this calls for a more profound justification of proposals. So that is good. Thank you very much. We don't have any other speakers. As regards this item, can we consider this to be closed? Yes. I move on to 5.2, which is a consideration of members' proposal to amend the Nordic Investment Bank's investment policy. Ville Veirenen is the spokesperson of the Presidium. He has 2 minutes to present this proposal. It's possible to ask for a rejoinder or a reply. And we also have some names on the speakers list. Go ahead, Ville Veirenen. Thank you, Chair. Yes, I just remember that I had this presentation to do right now. This is a proposal from the Conservative Group. Nordic Investment Bank's investments policy is the theme of the proposal, and we propose that the investment bank's policy should be changed together with the Baltic countries so that you could also invest in the NB8 countries within the defense sector. The Presidium finds this a good initiative, but the proposal is that this shall not be processed here because these changes have already been implemented by the Nordic Investment Bank. It can also finance conventional weapons and munitions, but of course not controversial weapons that will not receive any investment. So that's what I have to say about this proposal. Thank you very much, Ville. Next speaker is Joni Ovaska from the Center Group. Well, yeah, no, we have a reply here, a rejoinder. I apologize. 1 minute for you then, instead of 2 minutes. Yes, I just have a question. President of the Conservative Group, we were speaking about the Nordic advantage here. The Conservative Group, they should perhaps not be so conservative in these questions and consider these proposals. But I think that they are behind, they're lagging behind here, the Conservative Group. Yes, I agree with you. As group member and president, we have stated that we always need to take into consideration the Norwegian advantage when we make a proposal. I agree with what you have said. Yes, I'm so happy that you pay attention to what is done here when I'm not. Let me now give the floor to Helena Jellemann from the Center Group. Now you have 2 minutes. Thank you very much, Chair. The countries of the Nordic region and the Baltic states are once again living in a turbulent world. There are several wars raging in and around Europe, not least Russia's unacceptable full-scale invasion of Ukraine since the last 4 years. The Nordic region and the EU have come together in a unique way and supporting Ukraine with substantial resources, not least military equipment. Ukraine is standing up to Russia, but they are not only doing so for themselves, but for the whole of Europe, not least the Nordic region. Here, the Nordic region has a responsibility to do what we can do to support Ukraine. Due to the war in Ukraine, Finland and Sweden have now joined NATO, so we have a huge community now in the Nordic region. The war has been going on for a long time, and if we are able to supply Ukraine with military equipment on an ongoing basis and strengthening our own defense and preparedness, we need to invest in our defense industry. The European freedom is worth defending. Against this backdrop, The Conservative Group tabled a proposal to amend the Nordic Investment Bank's investments policy so that it may also finance defense industries in the Nordic and Baltic regions. And the Center Group supports this proposal. The Nordic Investment Fund has already amended its policy and is currently able to finance conventional weapons and ammunition. The Center Group will therefore support the Presidium's proposal not to proceed with this proposal. Thank you very much. I now give the floor to the next speaker, which is Lars Püss for the Conservative Group. Welcome. You have 2 minutes.
Ska man bara få igång där, så där.
All right, let's see if I can make this work. Thank you, Chair. In line with the change of our security situations to more challenging situations, we also need to strengthen both our civil and military resilience. Therefore, it's good to see that the Nordic Investment Bank has amended its policy so that they can now also invest in other issues. Here, I looked at this Wednesday. One of the lessons learned from the Ukrainian war is to invest resources in quick innovations. 3 to 8 weeks they lost, and then they need updates. It's also been said that the bank gives priority to smaller projects that can turn around quickly, which we see as positive. But the Nordic Investment Bank has opened up for investing in our Nordic defense. That's good, but it's also frustrating to see that the Nordic innovation does not support defense innovations. That's frustrating. We were visited by Nordic Innovation. They said that they support everything related to defense, but the war in Ukraine has also said that everything you need in order to succeed on the battleground is good. And therefore it's frustrating to have our own institutions who are not willing to contribute. And we therefore encourage all our investment institutions to contribute in any way they can. Thank you. We have no further speakers on our list. Can we consider this debate as closed? The answer is yes. Okay, next is the 5.3, consideration of members' proposals regarding a Nordic Democracy Conference. We have a reservation to consider. First give the floor to Dagbjørn Hakonardottir. You have 2 minutes to present here. Yes, I will speak Icelandic. We saw proposals for a Nordic democracy conference. I would like to add that democracy is not a matter of course. It never has been. And we see it all over the place that we face threats from left, right and center, and also trust is being challenged, and also young people cast their votes more rarely, even in the Nordics. We see that trust is overmined, and we need to develop resilience, and we can't develop resilience without trust. And that goes to the heart of democracy. This is what we are proud of in the Nordics. The trust is our strength. It's our strength across all international collaborations. And it is important that Nordic cooperation is based on trust. And when we see in the public discourse that we want to have a good dialogue with our neighbors, whether or not they are in the Baltics or in the Nordics, then it's also an encouragement for all the Nordic countries to continue cooperations, including to organize a Nordic democracy conference. We also think it's important to ensure that young people participate and that the challenges they face are also something that we pay attention to. Thank you very much. And thanks to you. I now give the floor to Jon Weinerhall, representing the Conservative Group, that will also account for the reservation. You have 2 minutes. Madam Chair, everyone in this room should be happy to live in the most democratic region in the world. No one here should question our efforts for democracy, but therefore we also have a responsibility to say no when one wants to create a new structure, a new platform, etc. The Nordic Council has already established cooperation and also to work in the area of democracy, but we should not create new fora. We also see how our countries are changed in line with what we see to the east, and also the situation in the Arctic requires more focus, and there is clear need for cooperations and political actions. We're also responsible for applying democratic means, but things have a price tag, and we must also use the resources more focusedly so that we see an effect of them. I don't think that the solution is to establish new fora. We should rather strengthen the institutions already in existence that work. And also, we should, in international fora, also stay true to our cooperations. And therefore, we have concluded that we will vote no to this proposal. Thank you. Next speaker is Katarina Dermar, representing the Center Group.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Center Group appreciates this membership report for this conservative or democracy festival, and we will support the proposal.
Från 2025 så
Okay. And 94 countries went back when it came to democracy development in 2024. The Nordics has an important role to protect, develop, and maintain democracies, especially today. And we will do that. And the Center Group thinks that an involvement of different organizations and a popular anchoring of this is very important. There are so many voices in the society, and they should all have a platform here. And that is very important if you want to have a true democratic development. We need to work together on this. In the proposal, we point to the importance of young people's participation. I don't think you can overestimate this. The young people are not just secondary track here. It must be the main track when we talk about democracy. And our democracies have a very uncertain future. And the proposal also includes young people participation in such a democracy festival or conference. This means that the young people also need to be involved in all to plan and lead this event. They should not just be a point on the agenda, but they have a lot of knowledge, and they should also participate in the decision-making when it comes to democracy. Thank you very much. I now give the floor to Lotta Johansson Fornave, Nordic Green Left. 2 minutes for you.
Tack för ordet.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The proposal to organize a Nordic conference to strengthen the democratic dialogue is excellent. Together with relevant organizations, researchers, civil society, preparedness organizations, and the authorities. And I also want to underline the importance of involving young people. Democracies have been built in our countries, and we see that new reforms have been added, but we cannot take democracy for given. And we have to continue working on this. Democracy should not only be defended, but also developed and strengthened. Unfortunately, there is a backlash when it comes to the democratic development. 6 million people around the world are living in autocracies. And we see that there is a downgoing spiral when it comes to democracy on a global basis. Even if we score high for democracy here in the Nordics, there are big challenges. In Sweden, we see, for instance, how the civil society have less resources. And we also see that many youth organizations see that there is an increase of hate and threats in the society. And we also see in 2022 for the first time that the participation in elections is going down amongst young people. This is worrying, and these are things we need to discuss. In a time of unrest and polarization, we need to strengthen the democratic discourse and the importance of democracy. Security and preparedness is not only about defense matters, it's also about building a society with a strong resilience, and there we need to develop democracy. And we can also, as Nordic countries, be a role model for other countries to move in a democratic direction. So I don't think this is something that we need to step down with. I think, on the contrary, we can do both these things in parallel. Thank you very much. I don't have any more speakers, so can we consider this discussion as closed? Yes. So we will now proceed to a vote on these considerations. This is the first vote during this session, so we will start by doing a test. You should see a blinking button on your screen very soon. Very soon you will see that. And in the meantime, I just tell you, be calm. No worries. This is a test, right? And we will test those who vote yes. So all those who are going home today, you vote yes. All those who are going somewhere else, you say no. And those who are staying here, they say that they abstain. So please test this right now. Or quite soon. No? Okay, so I need to continue talking here while we wait for the technical solution to be solved or found. The vote has not started. We had a technical hiccup here. Okay, you should be able to see a blinking lamp on your screen. You can vote yes green, red, no, or yellow to abstain. So the vote is open now. And this is a test. Yes, if you're going home today. Those who have not been able to vote, can you raise a hand? Yeah, I can see 2 hands. Can you give them some help?
Det kan vara så att jag är Ville.
Yeah, perhaps I am Willy. That's what it says here. All right, I'm going to vote against your reservation then, since I'm Willy. Okay, maybe we need to fix that first.
Hur gör vi det då? Där är jag. Så Ville, nu får du rösta för din egen grupp.
Okay, Willy, now you can vote on behalf of your own group. Let's try again. The vote is open, but this is still a test. Anyone who has not been able to vote, raise your hand if you need help. Otherwise, the vote is now closed. 42 voted yes, 5 no, and 7 abstained. Okay. So if this had been a decision, we would have decided that. But this is the real vote now. And let's first move on to the proposal on impact assessment of Nordic benefits and the removal of border barriers. Members who wish to vote in favor of this consideration, press green for yes. Those who wish to vote against should press red for no, and those who wish to abstain, press yellow for abstain. The vote is open. The vote is closed. And we see that we have 56 in favor of yes and no against and no abstentions. And the motion is approved. Let's proceed with item 5.2, report on the members' proposal to amend the Nordic Investment Bank's investments policy. The members who wish to vote in favor should press green for yes. And if you wish to vote against, red, and abstain, yellow. The vote is open. The vote is hereby closed. And we see that we have 55 votes in favor, 1 vote against. And this consideration is hereby approved. And the last voting item under this chapter, report of the members' proposal regarding the Nordic Democracy Festival. We have a reservation here. Those who want to support the report press green for yes. Those who wish to support the reservation, they press red. Those who wish to abstain, press yellow for abstain. And the vote will begin now. The vote is closed. And we see that there are 35 votes in favor, 22 against. So this report or this consideration is approved. And this concludes agenda item 5.
Ja, det kan vi göra. Det är en punkt bara.
Okej, då kör vi vidare.
All right, let's continue. Well, the coffee is waiting, but not quite yet. Let's move to item 6, namely the Committee for art and culture, and we will then go straight to voting. Consideration 6.1, the considerations regarding a member's proposal of cross-country collegial review of the education and research. I will give the floor to a spokesperson, namely Gudmundur Ari Sigurðsson, representing the committee. I apologize for kind of mixing here. You have 2 minutes. Thank you. I will speak in Icelandic. We are now discussing a consideration of members' proposal for a pan-Nordic peer review of teaching and research. The proposal was had received the first hearing in October, and the majority of the committee believed that it was too comprehensive. The goals were difficult to implement and were unclear. Several people also expressed an uncertainty that it may limit academic freedom and also create a risk for some issues and topics to be more politicized. It is not clear what any such reviews would lead to, who are to be responsible for conducting them, and how are they to be followed up. Therefore, the members proposes that the Nordic Council goes not further with this proposal. Thank you. This was the spokesperson for the committee. I will now give the floor to a spokesperson for the reservations, Staffan Eklöf. You also have 2 minutes. Thank you, Madam Chair. The Prime Minister of Norway mentioned the importance of democracy here. The Nordic Freedom Committee also reserves a proposal. Teaching, research and scientific communications are cornerstones of a functioning society. For them to function well and support democracy, they must be free from politicization. The Nordic region has a unique opportunity to help the Nordic countries maintain the distinction between these vital activities and politics. How could you otherwise do it? A joint review function can rise above the currents and tendency present in any single country to identify trends, and therefore the people who engage in this can also raise above any trends in any one country. And this is how you should also do to avoid politicizations and also to stand guard for democracy. Therefore, it would also capitalize on the benefits of the unique Nordic cooperation. And here we need to lift this up for discussion. There is a public debate of what doesn't work, and that to identify beginning trends. But here this should be a discussion that could be continued in the relevant fora. I hope that you now realize how this proposal is intended to work, and that you will vote for it. Thank you. We continue along our list of speakers. Next speaker is Katarina Deremar, representing the Center Group. You have 2 minutes. Thank you, Madam Chair. Teaching and research are based on studies that may confirm a hypothesis. It is part of the nature of science that it is to be reviewed. Nordic Freedom points out that research should not be politicized. And they want to ensure avoiding this by presenting a proposal that aims to do precisely that. Research should be free scientific and not be controlled by political instructions. We need a free scientific debate. We should not set a scientific label on our teaching or research. And therefore, I would also like to say that the Nordic Council does not continue and proceed with this proposal. Thank you. Next speaker is Hege Bae Nyholt, representing the Nordic Green Left. No, Katarina, there was someone asked for a reply. That was Stefan Eklöf. Katarina, is there the reply? Stefan, you have 1 minute. Maybe it is not so clear about how we want it to work, but if this should be kind of elevated to a discussion level about the researchers. It should not be anything to do with the result and output of research. There is review functions in the form of peer review of scientific articles and papers, but in teaching we don't have such tools. So this proposal aims at being an aid to research that may be subject to pressure from various actors, for example, from the institutions and from politicians. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for offering some further line of thought. But what I am concerned is that if you add a new level, either to control or to continue discussing matters, then what should you then discuss at this pan-Nordic level? I think that there is a risk that free research, which is so important, ends up not being free. How should I fit in order to kind of get a stamp of approval at this pan-Nordic level? I struggle to see what this would lead to. Thank you. No further replies? All right, we have now ended this exchange, and now I welcome Hege Bae Nyholt. Thank you, President. Nordic Council. A good education system for all is important to ensure that our children and younger people acquire basic skills and that they get an educational course that they and society need, but also to ensure that they have the ability for critical thinking and source critique at a time where we are bombarded with this information. The Unity School is our most important joint arena for children and young people. We should support it by ensuring good framework for the people who work there. The Unity School is important. It's important for us and for democracy. Free research and an educational sector with a high degree of academic freedom is an important cornerstone in our democracies. Nordic freedom challenges these principles by importing American culture battle to the Nordics. We don't need a review of our educational and school systems. We need a better framework. We need people with the right skills at work and trust in the professions. It is important for our children, our employees, and for the society. Therefore, Nordic Green Left supports the committee when they conclude that we should not proceed with this proposal. Thank you. Thank you. I have no... Well, actually, Stefan Eklöf asked for a reply to Hege. Stefan, you have the floor. And you have 1 minute for one reply. Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, here peers will review the work situations of other peers. That's what this is about. So at the Nordic level, Nordic peers should then review their colleagues in other Nordic countries, and that must be related to the basic conditions of research. For example, when we have peer review for scientific articles and papers, then that is how it's done. It's colleagues who then review other peers. That's how it should be done. But I don't see this as politicizations. It's rather to raise the discussions regarding work conditions for colleagues in another country that may be subject to a risk that there is pressure from the educational institutions or from politicians or from society. Thank you. I have heard these discussions in many different forms. Sometimes it's called Vogue, sometimes it's just radicals or feminists in the university, etc. This discussion comes in many different forms, but it's all about the same thing, namely attacking academic freedom. It's about the lack of trust in our profession. Pedagogy is a living subject. You discuss, you disagree, and sometimes you disagree strongly. But to think that there is a neutral truth that everyone needs to aim at is really far out. What we need to do is to ensure transparency and openness, to provide good framework for people engaged in research, who teach, and who teach our children. This represents the opposite. Therefore, we need to fight against it as part of the Nordic democracy. Thank you. We have no further speakers on our list, and therefore I declare this debate as closed. Now we move to the vote. We are now on the 6-2, and here we also see the considerations, and there is a reservations. If you vote to support the consideration, please vote green. And if you want to support the reservation, you vote red. And if you want to abstain, you press yellow. And we see that our screens are ready. Please cast your vote now.
The vote is hereby closed. And the result is 42 in favor and 11 against. No abstentions. This consideration is hereby approved. And that being said, item 6 about knowledge and culture in the Nordic region is closed. Thank you for good decisions and good discussions. Now, my friends, we are entitled to coffee and cakes. And let's resume again. We start up again at 20 past 2, 14:20. So now we have a break.
känns liksom som väldigt modernt i början på 1900-talet. Man kunde dra fram stolen.
Det är från 1866. Bara var det lite vidare.
Ja, det säger jag. Det är bara att man satt oss här på ett rum som här.
Hade det varit Jesus som satt där hade det varit 200. Ja.
Det är väldigt fint framåt.
Ja, du ser det där på slottet. Ja, det är han. Det är klart. Men får jag välja av skolan så tar det ju våra. Men det är ju ja. Ja, det är ju svensk. Det är ju svensk. Men det är svensk. Ja, till och med det, ja. Ja, mycket. Ja, det är genast väldigt mycket. Men jobbar du här? Ja.
Det är vi glada för han har koll på allting. Liksom.
Det gick i 5 år.
Det var ju lite speciellt.
Sen vad sitter alla bara väntar när de får besked att kungen är ute ur huset. Då börjar det vara. Så de bara sitter. De bara sitter.
Ingen var med.
Bara sitter och väntar.
Men det får ju väldigt högt.
Ingen finns det i konstitutionen.
Det räcker inte ens att man
Det var gäster.
Cirka några egna så är det kommit.
ja, typ.
Den har fjärde staten här som sätter skången.
Så. Okej, kära...
Dear Nordic parliamentarians, and it is now 20 past, and now I'd like to recommence the debate. There are many missing from the room, and we have to be a majority when we start to vote, and also we want to have respect for those who are going to speak. I want you to take your seats and wait to commence, please, quietly.
Nu sätter du på den. Ja, då ber jag er för andra...
Now, for the second time, I'd like you to take your seats, and we are then going to point 7 on the agenda, and that is the Committee for Sustainable Nordic, and we're going to talk about a greener fashion industry, and I give the floor to Åsa Karlsson. You have the floor, 2 minutes.
Fru President, Nordiska...
Madam Chair, Nordic friends, the fashion industry is one of our greatest threats to the climate. All too often, low-quality clothing is produced with a business model based on products just being worn out and quickly being replaced. And this is a result in an ever-increasing pattern of consumption. And in Europe, up to 600,000 tons of clothing are incinerated every year. At the same time, it's often difficult for consumers to know what they're actually buying. Has the garment been produced sustainably? Or are the claims of sustainability primarily just a marketing ploy? And that is why the Committee for a Sustainable Nordic Region has chosen to draw up this committee proposal. The initiative is based on a resolution from the Nordic Youth Council that they submitted to the committee. And during the discussions that we've heard representatives for the ecological Swan eco label. And through empowering consumerist directive, we call for that we have to try to strengthen also and try to make the consumers have better information about product sustainability and lifespan. In the Nordics, we have a strong tool in our common eco label that helps consumers to find the best sustainable products. And here the Nordics can have a leading role through our established systems, such as the Nordic Eco Label. We have the opportunity to contribute to greater transparency for consumers and at the same time lead the way for the rest of Europe. That is why the committee proposes that the Nordic governments undertake a specific initiative to raise consumer awareness and safeguard Nordic interests in light of the Empowering Consumers Directive in relation to the Swan Nordic Eco Label. The aim is to combat greenwashing and misleading marketing, as well as to promote sustainable material choices and good working conditions in the textile industry. We believe this proposal is a constructive step towards a more sustainable fashion industry. Thank you for the floor. Thank you, Åsa Karlsson from the committee. And the next speaker is Oda Ingard from the Centre Group. And you have 2 minutes.
Takk, president. Ja, vi I Norden vil like å se på oss selv som bærekraftig. Men
Thank you. We in the Nordics, we like to look upon ourselves as sustainable, but for clothing and fashion, the story is another. We are the biggest consumers in the world. If all the population in the world had spent as much as we do, we would have need 4 planets. And the fashion sector is the biggest climate burden we have. We produce quickly and we throw away quickly. Like we heard in Europe, a shock amount of 600,000 tons are incinerated every year. It's easy to solve this. We just need to buy less clothes, but that's not the whole answer, because the quality of the clothing is also important. For many people, it's difficult to know that what you buy, is it sustainable or not. So we have a very good, the Swan Eco Label is very good. It's Nordic, it's well known, but it's not well known both for producers and consumers when it comes to textiles. Nordic Council of Ministers have financed a lot of reports on textile garments. But we see that the online shopping is growing quickly in the Nordics. We do not need to shame people. We need politicians that draw in the same direction. So I would like to thank the Nordic Youth Council for lifting this issue. We need an agreement, and the committee is in agreement on this. I would have wanted us to go beyond. We need to know more about the eco-label, and we also need to react to misleading marketing and also those products who really affect our health or the producer's health negatively. We need to make it more attractive to repair and to choose quality garments. People want change, and we must make it easier for them to take good choices and not buy bad products. And the Swan Eco-label should be a common label in the Nordics, and this could be a first step for a safer and more sustainable consumption of garments.
Thank you. And the next speaker is Helena Stockenfeldt from the Conservative Group. You have 2 minutes. Thank you, Chair. We are in the middle of a climate change which requires responsibility and belief in the future. Our task has to be to focus on what makes a difference. The Nordic region has a very good prerequisites to be in the forefront when it comes to textiles. With an innovative business world, we can have solutions which diminish emissions, not just here at home, but globally. Consumers have a very important role in this. People want to do the right thing, but it also has to be easy to do the right thing, and that is why the Swan Eco-label is so important. It's a concrete tool to work against greenwashing and also misleading marketing. In a market economy, is well-informed consumers is a good driving force for transition, and when the demand for the certain products is also in demand for these products is in demand, that is how the market will change. That is how we have results through knowledge, innovation, and policy, which makes it easy to do the right thing. So we want to support the proposal. Thank you. Thank you very much. And the next speaker is Mirel Høyer-Berntsen. And from the Nordic Green Left, welcome, and you have the floor for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair, colleagues, and President. We support this proposal, and we want to commend the committee and Nordic Youth Council for lifting this very decisive matter. A greener fashion industry is not a specialist topic, but a necessary decision for or policy for the climate and for the working environment. In EU, we generate 12.6 million tons of textile waste. Too many garments are thrown away or destructed before they are worn out, and this is not the result of the consumer's choice, but of the business models building on overproduction, low quality, and increasingly quick trends. This model also have a high human cost. Cheap garments are produced under unacceptable working condition with the lack of trade union rights and a huge risk of social dumping. The price pressure is continuous, and the workers are also being pressured. That's far away from us, but it's also connected to our demand. The Nordic region is the region in the world with the highest quantity of textile in the world. This gives us a particular responsibility, but also an opportunity. We cannot continue to transfer this representation to other groups, whereas the industry do not have incentives for transformation. So the campaign against greenwashing and other phenomena through the Swan Eco-label is important. We have to place the liability where it lies with the producers. So we need to have rules that makes it more profitable to produce quality clothing, which are produced under decent and acceptable conditions. We have to use all these tools that we have in the Nordics in an offensive way.
Thank you. And the next speaker is from the Nordic Youth Council, and you have 2 minutes. Lone Christiansen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Many things have already been mentioned here. In the Nordic countries, we use a lot of clothes, too many clothes, not because the weather demands it, but it's been also a habit to buy an ever-increasing amount of clothing, often poor quality, produced by companies outside of the Nordic regions, which means the clothes have to be shipped long distances. I don't think it takes so much convincing for most of us to recognize that this has created problems on multiple levels, including in terms of sustainability. This has long been an important issue for young people. We care about where the clothes come from, who made them, and under what conditions they were made, and the consequences of production of the clothes that we are wearing. This is why the Youth Council has taken the initiatives for this resolution. There are already well-established counter-movements against overconsumption, and there are already many good and effective solutions like the Swan Eco-Label. But things can always be improved, and things can be simplified. I don't think it's controversial to assume that most people want high-quality clothing produced under ethical conditions. So make it easier for people. A more transparent fashion industry will give us a greener fashion industry. So that's why I hope you will support this proposal.
Thank you very much. And now I have no further speakers on the list, and I declare this debate to be closed. Now we will go to voting, and on point 7.2, and this is about a greener fashion industry. Those members who want to vote for the proposal should press green, and those who want to vote against should press on red. And if you want to abstain, you press the yellow. And then I want to begin voting now. And voting has been completed. And we have 52 votes for, no abstentions and no votes against, and therefore this has been approved. And with these words, I can declare the point 7 on the agenda is completed from the Committee on a Sustainable Nordics. We will go further on to point 8 on the agenda, which is the Committee for Welfare in the Nordics. And we go to 8.1 and the report on the member proposal on increased violence in close relationships. And I give it to the spokesperson for the committee, who is Lotta Jonsson, and you have 2 minutes. You have the floor. Thank you, Madam Chair. The Nordic countries are often seen as examples when it comes to equality and are supposed to be like the most equal. And so at the same time, there was a lot of violence in close relations, and this is often referred to as the Nordic paradox. Violence in close relationships could be found in all socioeconomic groups, and if a person, same time, it is when that they have a close relationship and then they have experienced violence. And women are often experience serious violence, and the majority of the cases, the perpetrator is a man. And there are also children who witness violence often also can experience this. Violence towards men often happens in public and often most of other men. But the women are most at risk of violence in the home, and also this is also sometimes there are also femicide. In order to prevent violence in intimate relationships, more concrete efforts and resources are needed for both violence prevention work and low threshold services, as well as strengthened cooperation among various actors. Nordic cooperation must be a central and crucial part of this work. That's why the Nordic Welfare Committee therefore recommends that the Nordic Council of Ministers examine how the countries are following up on their international commitments and produce a joint report with best practices and recommendations for future work. This should all be followed up through annual meetings between relevant authorities and organizations in the countries. Violence is not just a crime against the individual, but also undermines the development of gender equality and democracy in society as a whole. We must break the Nordic paradox, and we hope that you will all support this recommendation. Thank you for your attention. Thank you. And now then, the next is Ronny Aukrust from the Social Democratic Group. Welcome. You have 2 minutes.
President, så mange kvinner har blitt drept av en
So many women have been killed by current or former partner, daughters, sisters. Women are impacted by men's violence against women. Victims should be protected and supported. Perpetrators should be punished. So many women have to live in fear and have their life crushed. Violence against women is not a private matter. It's not a series of individual incidents. It's something that is systematically and fully unacceptable. Behind each headline, there is a reality. A woman's lives that's being limited and have to be silent. And often, a woman who does not survive. We know what it takes. Early prevention is important. It makes a difference. We know that protecting vulnerable women needs to be strengthened. We know that the judicial systems also need to take quicker and more affirmative actions. The work to change the norms with male aggression must change early. We cannot accept half-hearted solutions. We can't expect that women continue to pay the price for something that the society can stop. This is about freedom. It's about safety. It's about human rights. And it is high time that we also deal with it in that matter. It's time to stop looking the other way. We need to work until men's violence against women have been eradicated from our societies. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now, Sandra Listeby from the Centre Group. You have 2 minutes.
Fru president, mittengruppen samarbete för att
Centre Group supports this to fight against violence in close relationships and to break then the so-called Nordic paradox. Despite the fact that the Nordic region is an exemplary region in equality, then this kind of crimes is still a spread social problem, which in some countries has increased greatly, among other things in Finland and Denmark. And I want to repeat, the trend is in the opposite direction. And in Finland, I'm concerned because the number of femicide in close relationships is going to be double this year. It is clear that more needs to be done to strengthen the preventative work, to improve protection for the victims, and to ensure that there is also good support available in the entire Nordic region. I want to underscore that it's not just about legislation, it's about to change attitudes and norms in our society. As long as norms around power, gender, sexuality allow that sometimes violence can be justified, then this is going to continue regardless of how strong our legislation is. In order to develop common preventative measures and strengthen collaboration between the countries, we can learn from each other and spread and disseminate functioning working tools. We need better collaboration, more resources, and also a systematic follow-ups of how international measures are carried out in practice. By taking on board other Nordic experiences and good examples, we can make more efficient the work against this violent and close relationships and also strengthen supports for the victims. Violence in close relationships is not just a crime against the individual. It also undermines all of society's equality and democratic foundation. That is why it's important that the Nordics continue to be in the forefront in the work in trying to create safer societies for everyone. Thank you. Thank you. And now Veronica Honkasalo from the Nordic Green Left. You have the floor. 2 minutes.
Tack. Jag ska tala finska.
Thank you. I shall speak Finnish. First, I would warmly like to thank for this reception that our group's proposal has received, and I would also like to thank for the words that have been said, very moving and good speeches, especially from the Social Democratic group. And what I would hope for in the continuing follow-ups of this, and hope that this goes through in the voting, that we also take into account notice also the perpetrators of crimes, of this violence. Often, when we talk about these, then men do not have sufficient exit services and help. But it would be important to have this developed on the Nordic level, develop these best practices when men can rid themselves of violent trends. And at the same time, I'm very concerned about the fact that this kind of women, a misogynist culture is spreading itself among young men and boys. And this also, even as the mother of a teenage young boy, I can see concretely what kind of material he is fed on social media, for example. And these misogynistic cultures are completely irresponsible, and they feed the fact that these young men are very unsure of themselves. And we have to offer also ways for young men to rid themselves of this misogynist culture thinking, and that is the responsibility of us, the adults in particular. And finally, I would also like to say that often in the Nordics it is the case that is close relationship violence and being against that and actions against that is always mainly women's responsibility and work. And I think it's important also that men also spoke today here, and I hope that this will continue, that men will also take responsibility for this very terrible human rights problem that we unfortunately have in our Nordic countries. Thank you. Thank you very much. And now the floor goes to the Nordic Youth Council. 2 minutes.
Kiitos, presidentti.
Thank you, Chair. The Nordic Youth Council takes this on board very gladly and says that this close relationship violence pertains to all age groups. We are the most developed countries in the world in many respects, but when it comes to domestic violence, we still have a long way to go. Being the victim of abuse by a partner causes a great deal of shame, even though for no reason at all, obviously. The threshold of telling anyone about it is very high. How can one bring oneself to tell someone that a partner or someone else, someone who is close, is abusing them physically, emotionally, or sexually? This is not how it should be. One should not have to think that way, but all too often victims find it hard to break free from their relationships and may even defend their partner and perhaps justifying the violence directed at them. And that, however, is not the case. Recovering from traumatic experiences is a long process that often requires psychiatric help and social work. By preventing violence, we would save a great deal of human capital, reduce the need for psychiatric care, and conserve social work resources. The Nordic Youth Council views it as highly positive that intimate partner violence has been raised as a subject in the Council. Thank you. Thank you very much. We have no further speakers on the list, and therefore the debate has been completed. And now we're going to go further to point 8.2, which is voting. And we will then vote on this report, and the members who will want to vote for it will press on green, and those who want to vote against press on red, and if you want to abstain you press the yellow. And I'm going to wait one moment.
Okej, då kan...
And now voting may commence.
Omröstningen är avslutad.
Voting is completed, and
Okej.
Right, the voting is still open. If there's someone who hasn't voted, then do so. We don't have enough. We don't have a quorum, so we don't have enough that have voted. If you think that it's all right, then we will stop the voting and we will start again. So let us recommence. So I will open the vote once more. It is the same report, but we have to have more votes in. So if you want to vote for it, then you vote green, as I said before, against red, and abstentions are yellow. And I hope that everyone in the room will now vote.
Omröstningen kan avsluta.
And now we can close the voting procedure. And now we have 42 voted for and 4 abstentions. And that means that 46 have voted, and we need to be 44. And therefore it has been accepted and approved. And we were in a quorum. Thank you very much. And now we have approved this. And now we have dealt with point 8 on the agenda. And we have come
Då så går vi vidare till...
We'll now move to deal with item 9 on the agenda, which concerns the Committee for Growth and Development in the Nordic region. So under 9.1, we will deal with the committee's proposal for simple bank transfer in the Nordic region, and I give the floor to the spokesperson, Kjell-Arne Ottosson, representing the Centre Group. Thank you, President, dear Nordic friends. The strategy for free movement of the Nordic Council that we decided in Stockholm establish 7 rights that each company should rely on: the right to work, the right to study, the right to receive health services and to conduct business, and to have clear tax rules, and also to have freedom of movement even during times of crisis, and to use digital solutions that work seamlessly across borders. Earlier, Prime Minister Gahr Støre said that we should move from theory to practice. Something needs to happen. But in these cases, we're not quite there, because these rights are so for just grand words on a piece of paper. We need to make it work in practice. And therefore, the committee's proposals for simplified bank transfers in the Nordic region so important because it focuses on the concrete challenge that our inhabitants and businesses face. Despite the fact that the Nordic region is one of the world's most integrated regions, our everyday lives of our inhabitants and businesses are hindered by our financial system. The proposals based on the following works, namely the report towards a more integrated Nordic bank sector and surveys with more than 2,000 participants, hearings, and not least the Nordic Youth Council's resolution from September 2024 that clearly points to the need for quick simplified bank transfers in the Nordic, and therefore the central bank have also issued a report on this. We talk about the ambition that we want to make Nordic region the world's most integrated region, but when it comes to bank services and payments, it still works as separate markets. Differences in national rules and practice prevents our mobility and business activities. We need actually to give clear mandates to our supervisory authorities to create incentives for banks and other institutions to develop cross-border services. And we also need to harmonize financial rules and standards. So we also need to protect consumers and promote transparency. And I'm happy to say that there is a unanimous committee that supports this. All right, I will give the floor to Tom Einar Karlsen, and you have 2 minutes. Thank you, Chair. For most of us, digitalizations of bank services have made the services more reasonable to use and also more readily accessible for those who engage in business across national borders in the Nordic region. It's not that simple, and the said report shows that. Therefore, we need more cooperation, joint solutions that give more people the possibility to work and act across borders. During the debate earlier today, we asked the questions: is the Nordic region prepared for crisis? And Prime Minister Gahr Støre also highlighted the importance of financial security, a well-integrated Nordic bank and financial sector that give the inhabitants access to good, reasonable, safe, and secure banking services across national borders would considerably contribute to strengthening our financial situations. Separately, each Nordic country has a small financial sector, and as we heard, we are dependent on large digital services and also vulnerable. But we have a Norwegian band who's sung about that we are strong together, and therefore we are also a bigger force. I would like to thank the Nordic Council and the committee that's been working on this along the way, along with the Nordic Youth Council for the proposal. Thank you. I will now give the floor to Marco Sipponen from the Center Group. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. I will speak Finnish. Thank you in particular to the Nordic Youth Council for this initiative, which the Centre Group supports. In bank services, we do need stronger Nordic cooperation, and this proposal has affords many good opportunities for the Nordic also finance ministers, and also the bank sector should look at these carefully. When and if we are going to create the world's most integrated area, we have to also make sure we integrate also when it comes to infrastructure and legislation and so forth. Common rules will make it easier to give services and also to be competitive for citizens, for example. And Also, strong common payment platforms will also be good. International competition. And alone we are too small, but the Nordics together have a possibility to do more. And we have to build infrastructure not just for people and things, but also for capital. And if money flows faster and safer in our area, then it also builds a foundation for the growth of our economies. Thank you.
Tack så mycket.
Thank you very much. And now it is Liv Gustavsen from the Fremskrittsparti. And 2 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In the Progress Party, we support this proposal. We would like to thank you for putting it on the agenda. If we are going to be the most well-integrated region in the world, this is a first step in this process, because this is an important and future-oriented initiative to strengthen Nordic integration at a time when cooperation cross-border becomes ever more important. Simpler bank transfers and better coordinations will benefit both inhabitants, business and industry, and innovation communities. And we support the work to eradicate barriers to cross-border movement, and similar to make the Nordic region a leading region for financial services and financial tech. This is a concrete Nordic cooperation at its best. Thank you. And thanks to you, I now give the floor to Johannes Erlandsson, representing the Nordic Youth Council. You have 2 minutes too.
Tack, President.
Thank you, Madam Chair. When I receive refund of travel expenses from the UNR, it has to be done via an IBAN transfer, because I have a Faroese bank account while the Council has a Finnish bank account. This means that it will often take several days before I receive the money, and every time they make a transfer, there is a charge of 10 euros. If the Nordic region is to become the most integrated region by 2030, we simply can't have a situation where transferring money should be so cumbersome and costly. When Vipps and Mobile Pay a few years ago were merged, then it made a big difference when it came to payment transfers between countries. And in order for this to be done towards the other Nordic countries, then we must also have solutions that can allow that. And we should lead the way in digital integration, not only when it comes to bank transfer, but also EID, identity matching and coordination of public digital infrastructure. We should not wait for the EU to develop a solution that we can copy. We should develop a solution that the EU can copy. Here I ask you to support our proposal. I have no other speakers on the list, and therefore I consider this debate to be closed. And this means that we will move to the vote. Well, as to whether this is a proposal you can support. And here, this is item 9 on the agenda. Those who want to vote in favor of the proposals, you press green. If you are against, you press red. And if you want to abstain, press yellow. We start the vote now.
Vad sa du? Omröstningen är...
The vote is now closed. And of course, now we see that more people have come into the room to vote. We have 50 votes in favor, no one against, no abstentions. Herefore, the proposal is passed. All right, we have now finished dealing with this item. I want to thank you for my sessions. It's been fun to come here, and I will now welcome the real president of the council to take the seat.
No niin, sitten ollaan.
Right, then we are on point 10 on the agenda, the completion of the session. We have another hour left, but we're not going to use it in complete. But warm thank you to the Stortinget in Norway and all of the staff and the secretariat and all of the parliamentarians, ministers, and who have been here, all the international guests, and as always. We want to also thank the interpreters, and it is, and your work is good to follow from one meeting to the other. And one of the practical thing that we would hope that when we have some questionnaires about this, that as many as possible will fill that out. I think we'll get it next week in an email, and the better we fill those out, the more we can develop this. And once more, thank you to the Norwegian delegation for this 2-day visit, and thank you that you were able to arrange this wonderful weather for us as well here in Oslo. And I hope you all have a safe journey home, and let us then meet again in the summer meetings and continue and our strong Nordic cooperation, and have a wonderful spring and a safe journey home. Thank you. The meeting is adjourned.